Welcome back
to another episode of
Hale Off The Trail.
So today we're going to talk about like our first half of the journey on the Alaskan Highway, the Alcan.
Official of starting our Alaska journey, basically.
Yes. So if you watched the last episode, we were talking about our little pit stop mini vacation in Banff. So we were in Canmore, and now we've driven up further north, and currently we're boondocked on the side of a river in the Yukon. Like, what is life? But
I think, 2 hours away from the border, maybe? Yeah, I mean, we figured we'd be crossed by now, but like at this point, the views have been so great.
The route here is actually unreal. Like, it keeps blowing my mind. So yeah, it's taken us a lot longer than we expected, but no complaints here.
No, I'm cool with it. I'm not exhausted. Like, I feel refreshed.
Yeah, it's been a nice, like, steady, we were able to be present in the moment and soak everything in. So if you've thought about driving or like RVing up here, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Even if you're just seeking a little bit of inspiration, take your car up. We'll give you some suggestions on pullouts. The views are, you have no choice but to be inspired by them, I feel like.
So, highlights of it so far, I mean, there's so many to count, but I think for me is Muncho Lake. It's got that, like, glacier-y, turquoisey color.
Huge lake, too.
Yeah, we were driving on it for, like, multiple minutes before even the first campground popped up.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting a site that was, like, 15 paces from the water, and we got to watch a whole bunch of, like, float planes take off, and just, like, one of those experiences where you're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, what is my life right now?
Felt unreal, for sure.
What was your favorite part?
Probably still at Muncho Lake. We just had a really good night. We got the thermocells out. We put a whole bunch of like blankets and pillows up on the roof. Olivia got a picnic ready, and we just watched a movie. The movie was Cocaine Bear. we had heard about it for a while and wanted to watch it, but yeah, it was just a vibe. It was fun, and we had the beautiful views in the background. We just kept looking at each other and saying like, what is this view right now?
And I know that we were experiencing this a little bit in Banff, but I've never been up this far north in the summertime, and it's like never dark out.
Yeah.
So we were up there and probably until like 11:30, and it looked like it was like 2 p.m.
I haven't seen it dark here yet.
I woke up at 2:15 the other day when I was like, and it was twilight-ish, but I could still see those mountains,
Oh, yeah.
It's like a confusing to your mind.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
So
I don't want to go to sleep at night either, because it's like, I want to stay for sunset, but you can't.
Yeah. It's just like you want to, I have a hard time in life in general taking a nap or sleeping, because I just love being alive, but it's like a higher level here, so.
Yeah. And the sunsets last forever, if you can catch them.
Yeah.
It was like midnight at Muncho, and I walked out and I got snaps some pictures.
Oh yeah, you got that cool picture of the float plane.
Just beautiful.
Insert it here.
Right.
So let's get into it. Real quickly, we'll talk about, like, there are campgrounds along the highway, but they're few and far between. And a lot of them aren't full hookup. So we drove from Canmore near the Banff area to Red Deer, which is in Alberta. It's like a 2-hour drive. And we decided to get a campground there to kind of like regroup before officially starting the highway. So we did our laundry. We got some groceries. It was like sketchy.
Yeah. Well, see, we a lot of people go the Jasper route, and they take that Glacier Highway. What is it called? Icefields Parkway. But I was a little sketched out about it with the RV and the hills and stuff, so like we came back out and followed some main roads up. So this was like a town. It was in between a couple big cities. There was a lot of full-time RVers there at the park, so it's just kind of weird rolling in and just rolling back out. But yeah, it was good to be able to catch up on all this stuff since we weren't hooked up for so long.
And I'd like to preface by saying we did do Icefields Parkway. If this is like the first episode that you're tuning into, highly recommend. So don't like sit on that if you're like, oh, because we did see a lot of RVs going up and down it. We had just already driven it.
Yeah, after doing it in the Jeep, I would have done in the RV. Just looking at the route planning and stuff, it kind of deterred me a little bit. Yeah.
So we dumped our tanks, blah, blah, blah. And then we ended up driving another 4 hours to Whitecourt. And we stayed at a Walmart. I don't even remember it. Like, I feel like we've stopped so many different places. I don't even remember, like, the look of that Walmart. Do you?
Not really.
It's gone.
Just know we had a big list of groceries that we didn't get in Red Deer because that Walmart was sketchy.
Yeah, the Walmarts in Canada are not the same as the U.S. And that's like a stretch.
Not that the Walmarts in the U.S. are all that great. But yeah, just like less selection and like stuff that we are so used to finding every time we go to Walmart, we can't find it anymore.
Yeah, so. They're very, like it says super center, you know, with the RE. Right. But it's not what I would consider a super center. Yeah. At all. But anyway, we stocked up on groceries. There you go. And we got our last Tim Hortons.
Yeah, I woke up early, went out. There was like a ton of other RVs.
Oh, now I remember it because I was PMSing. So
we took the dogs out to run around.
Yeah. That wasn't bad.
It was just like us and another car camper that was there when we got there, and then when I woke up in the morning, there was like 10 maybe RVs.
It was cool to see a lot of the like U.S. plates starting to pop up because I don't know, there was just like an energy where it's like, oh, they're from the U.S., they're probably doing what we're doing, and I don't know. Like, people in general in Canada are so nice and friendly, and like you'd see another RVer and they'd just smile at you, you know, like, I love it. So we wanted to kind of push through that driving day because that is where the wildfires kind of were, so we wanted to get above them as soon as possible.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was this day, and we drove for like 8.5, 9 hours.
Yeah. Luckily it was a Saturday, so we could get up and get rolling. We had some Tim Hortons to fuel us up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we were just like, all right, we're going to book it up there.
Yeah, so that puts us we cut the day in half. To start the Alcan, it's on Dawson Creek, and that's when you get into British Columbia.
Official mile 0 of the Alaskan Highway.
Yeah. So that was like the half-day point, and we spent, I don't know, like an hour there. It's so weird because there's like a roundabout in Dawson Creek, and the famous sign that's like, you're starting the Alaskan Highway is like right off the road.
Yeah. It's not even a turn onto the highway. It's a roundabout.
Yeah, it's like in this big parking lot. So that was weird.
That was a great experience for you, right?
No. No, it wasn't bad. It just like, I was PMSing, okay? And like, I don't care to show that because it ties into the story.
And you're like on road trip PMSing, so probably...
Yeah, like I don't have the comforts of when we're parked where it's like I can take a hot shower and like take a nap laying down and not in the chair where I'm literally going like this again, you know?
Yeah.
So what happened was there's a big parking lot, there's a lot of area for cars to park, and then it seemed like there was like a line of RVs parked, and for a minute we were like, are these people just like stopped to eat lunch or what's going on? And then we figured out we were like, I don't know how to describe it.
In line? We
were in line. We ended up pulling the RV and the Jeep up behind the sign to take pictures. So I whipped my tripod out, what I typically do, which like doesn't take long.
You were efficient. And that's the thing, there was nobody like guiding it. There was no like set rules. We were just like, okay, it looks like these cars are kind of lined up here. Somebody's taking a picture. So like, we obviously wanted the RV in the background. So like we rolled up, waited. Like we waited in the RV for those people to be done in front of us. And then, you jumped out and you were started to get ready while I pulled the RV around.
Yeah, I do think that we're like really... is the word considerate of other people in places like that. We want people to have the opportunity to take a picture. We don't ever want to be like, oh, you're taking forever. Unless it's like an obscene amount where it's like, okay, come on. And same thing with us. Like, we like taking pictures. We like documenting, obviously. But this was not one of the occasions where I went overboard at all.
No.
And I wanted to get the full picture of us with the sign and the RV and the Jeep in the background, because that's what's significant about what we're doing is we're RVing to Alaska. Once in a lifetime. Of course I want a picture. Yeah. And there's this woman.
She who will not be named.
Okay. She is standing in front of the Jeep. So she's in our picture.
Pink coat, too.
Bright pink and black plaid coat. There's no chance she's going to see this. But if you do, you are so rude. Like, I'm already so socially anxious that even being like, going like this, do you mind like moving a little bit, was hard for me to do. But, you know, the PMS adds a little bit of courage to that. So I had no problem at that time being like, could you...
And she did... That's the thing. They showed up, like, right as I got out of the... They were probably there before I even got out of the vehicle to park.
That's what I'm saying. Like, 0 time to take a picture. It was so inconsiderate. And she, like, had this huge reaction. I took a video on my camera because I usually, like, we'll do that while we're taking pictures, too, just to, like... get a video.
For something on Instagram.
And she was like rolling her eyes and like throwing her hands up when we literally hadn't even taken a picture yet. Like it was like 15
hindsight, we should have
in.
just let her roll through and just keep going because that was already.
I was trying so hard not to freak out because I'm like feeling this pressure of this person that's obviously frustrated with us, but also anger because she has no right to feel frustrated. And I get we're going on a soapbox a little bit.
Yeah, I was surprised that you didn't go over there and deck her.
Okay, because at first I was like, maybe she's just coming through in a car. She doesn't understand the significance of wanting to get a picture, so she's frustrated that I want a picture of the whole thing. Whatever. We get the picture, and I'm like, I'm going to have to crop her out, and it's going to take away some of the
You're already pissed.
I was so upset. I was like, okay, I'm over it. This sucks. I hate it. But let's go to the visitor center or whatever. And once we leave the visitor center...
Here's the other thing. No, she gave us like 2 minutes to take some pictures.
Even less than that.
Which we have a remote. Like, we'll just pop them off. It's fine. And then when we were like going back to check the pictures, she had already moved over the other side looking at some sign.
Yeah,
like encroaching again.
Straight in the way. So I was done at that point, and she's had too much time on this podcast.
Okay.
But when we were coming out of the visitor center, her ass was pulled up in their rig, taking pictures just like we were, with nobody in their way. And when I tell you, I had steam coming out of my ears. I grabbed the dogs because I got them out to go to the bathroom, and I was literally on my way. I don't know what I was going to do because I've never had a like verbal confrontation with somebody, but I wanted to like flip shit. I was so mad. So I'm sorry that this took forever. I just like couldn't believe it. And I was like, if I see this woman on the Alcan, if she happens to stop at the same stop that we're at, I will.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know.
We get there and
it's just frustrating. Like obviously first world problems, but annoying nonetheless. Annoying. Let's move on. Okay.
She didn't sick the dogs on her. There was like some craft fair or something that I went to take a look at, and I like cut her off, and we were like, okay, yeah, we'll just keep going.
He's like, let's actually go this way.
I could tell.
We got back in the car, and it was like silent. And he's like, you need a little time to recover from that?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I do.
How did it feel to journal about that? Did you give her space? Or you just like, hey, you're not even important enough to be...
I said... Karma's a bitch and it's coming for you. No, I don't mean to be mean. It's just, that's one of my huge pet peeves. It's like, I get it if we're taking a long time. We were not in this scenario.
And it wasn't busy. We waited like
rude.
2 minutes in the RV. Like, it wasn't busy.
We need to move on from this because I'm getting upset again.
Okay.
So, okay, then we took off officially on the Alcan. We didn't stop until Fort Nelson, which is like the longest or like the biggest rural town ever. Didn't you feel like that? Because it said like you're in Fort Nelson, but then like 3 hours after we left the next morning, then we actually got to the Fort Nelson town.
Oh right, yeah. We just got to the outskirts. We did stop at the visitor center in Dawson Creek, and remember we talked to that lady, and she was like,
She gave us a little handout where it said like mile marker or kilometer marker.
Yeah, like a little breakdown,
services
easier map.
What kind of services were at each spot. So that was good just to like have to know ahead of time. Like, oh, I need to get gas, whatever.
Yeah, I didn't even hear about that, or I probably would have gotten it. I think it's like a summarized version of the
Milepost?
The milepost, yeah. But we use that a lot. Like, when we were driving through, we looked at what mile marker we're at, and we're like, okay, do we need to fill up on gas, or are we good? So that was just a really good reference.
Was really handy. I think we did have to pay for it. What was that, like $9 Canadian?
No, we just bought souvenirs, and then she gave it to us. That one was for free.
Yeah, she was really nice. She wrote, like, there's no cell phone service from here to here, but we have a Starlink satellite internet. So.
Yeah, she was good and she was bad because she was like warning us, like, oh, your Starlink won't work. You won't be able to go to the internet. You can't stop on the side of the road.
You can't stop on the turnoffs for more than 8 hours, or the BC sergeants. I don't know what you call the. I haven't seen any of them to know what to call them. No chance. Like, we've had no issues whatsoever with the Starlink or with pulling off to spend the night. Like, we've been at this spot this is day 3.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're not like crashing a rest stop pull off or something for that long.
No, we're definitely more remote than that. But anyway, that little handout was really nice. We got some stickers per usual, and then we went on to Fort Nelson, and we did the first night on a pull off by the river. You enjoyed it. I mean, it was okay. Like, there's not much to say about it.
We wanted to. It was kind of a long day, but we wanted to get ahead of some fires that were in the area because we weren't sure how far they were off the road or if the smoke would be too bad to drive through. We saw a whole bunch of guys in like trucks. I don't know. They kind of look like just volunteer weekend guys out trying to fight the fires. But yeah, we found a cool pull off. It was like down by the river. I mean, it was fine.
Called Bougie Creek?
Yeah, Bougie Creek.
But there are, like, you don't have to stay at the spots that we stayed at. There are a lot of pull-offs throughout the highway itself. The entire time that, like, people stop out, spend the night at, take a break at, whatever. There are multiple places
and we're more, like, restricted, too, because we've got this big RV, and then we're towing the vehicle, and I can't turn around unless I unhook the tow. So, like, I tried to be strategic about what are the biggest turnoffs that we could pull off on. And that one, we didn't have anybody join us, too, which was nice.
And it was a little bit more removed from the highway, so quieter. It felt like more we were in the wilderness. So I liked it, but it wasn't like, it wasn't as exciting as the ones that happened next.
Yeah, the views weren't quite there yet. Not until you get a little bit through Fort Nelson does it start becoming more mountainous.
So we woke up the next morning and we went to Summit Lake. And that was probably like another hour and a half down the road. But we had Colton ran in. I was still like fuming about that lady. So it was at some gas station and he had found like a local that wouldn't stop talking to him about places to stop. And there's a Tetsa River Lodge along the route that we passed to get to Summit Lake. And the woman was like, you have to have these cinnamon buns. Like,
I've heard about them too.
You have?
Yeah, and when I was looking at people that do the trip, that's like a thing. It was great.
Yeah, we really stopped and just got a cinnamon bun. And it was probably like the size of a big sandwich. So we only got one. It was, I think, $7. And they heated it up for you.
Oh, yeah, it was warm.
And it was like a campground area. So you could stay there if you wanted to.
You could get gas there.
Yeah, they had the cutest little, like, it felt like a Virgin River shop. Like they had...
It was just like somebody's house. They had like pelts and stuff
freshly
in there.
Baked bread sitting out that was warm on the counter to buy. Like very homey feeling and just
you could
welcoming.
buy like a cafe, sandwich or something and go out and eat it on the porch.
Yeah, it was very, very cute. And then we continued on to Summit Lake, and I would like to point out that I drove the entire time that day.
How'd you feel about that?
Well, I enjoyed it. Once I got a little less white knuckly about the whole experience, I felt so powerful sitting up there. Just like learning how to shift the gears and like paying attention to old Switchback Sally, what she needed from me in that moment. No, it was fine because there's not like a ton of traffic, so I felt a little bit more comfortable.
But you had driven earlier on the way to Banff.
Yeah, I didn't like that as much.
Because that one was more like high speed, semis passing. This was more mountainous though. You had to deal with like switching gears.
I would much rather do that than like semis and people and no thanks.
So you did pull into a gas station. How did that go for you?
Oh my gosh. So this was in Fort Nelson and we learned there's weird gas stations here. What are they called? The ones that like are only...
That's when I saw that lady was at a Petro Pass. And I didn't know, but you have to have some special like commercial card because it's for the semis that pass through. And so I was like trying to use my credit card and it was denying it. We did that twice and then we learned a lesson.
And some of them just like they're not open 24 hours.
Yeah, no attendant
or even on the weekend. So we didn't even, we might have gotten gas at the one I pulled into. But
we pulled out of that one across the street and then tried to pull into another one that was more like for cars.
Yeah, so I'm pulling into this gas station. Everything's going okay. I'm like making the turns really well, which is what I was afraid of because of the length and like the size of the RV to begin with. This other Class A is pulling up when I was going to pull in front of them, and it's this like cute old couple. So I'm like, I'm just going to go behind them instead. And the the gas station has like a platform. Is that normal? And I've just never noticed it?
Yeah, the like oil trucks or the gas trucks will drive over that and then empty. So they all have like a little bump where the plates are. They open up. Yeah.
I took that way too fast.
Yeah. You instantly were set up for failure though, because we don't usually go to little gas stations like that because they're too small, but there's not a lot of options. Mm-hmm. And we usually will go to one of the outside places, but the Class A was there that cut you off, so you couldn't go to like the further pumps. So yeah, she was like driving where the cars drive.
And the cabinets with the glasses and stuff were like, hit
the bump just a little bit too fast. But you didn't know, and like you don't even realize that you're going fast until everything starts like bouncing around in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you cut a turn, you got in between the pumps, and I was surprised that you cut that so perfectly, but still got close enough that I could fill up. I was like, this is great, you should drive all the time.
And yeah, okay. So we are keeping track of how much money gas is, so we're going to eventually share the total, and we'll probably convert it both ways.
Hey, no.
Okay.
Maybe.
Whatever. If you're curious, I looked it up. So, what does this say? $1 US equals 1.32 Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
And
does that make sense to you?
No, but I'm just going to say it and move on. Math was not my best subject. It was my worst. Okay. The thing, it's important to have some Canadian money while you're on the Alcan because it's so remote. And a lot of these places, like the provincial campground that we stayed at in Summit Lake, was $20 Canadian, and there wasn't anywhere to exchange. And if you had only had US, you had to give.
Was it equal? Yeah, it was like $20 US. Because it's unmanned, so you just show up and you find a spot that's open, and then you go in and pay for it, and it's just one of those paper envelopes. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was like equal exchange. So if you don't have a 20 of Canadian cash, then you just have to pay a 20 US, which you're paying a lot more for that campsite then.
They were really cool campsites. Like, obviously all dry, there's no hookups, but our RV was like 2 steps away from the lake shore.
Yeah, we lucked out. Well, we got in, and there was already a party that had put stuff in all of the like good spots because somebody had got there earlier, which was fine. So we rolled into a buddy site, and like we would have been fine if somebody else came. Mm-hmm. Nobody else wanted to come, which I could imagine. We were right there, yeah. But yeah, we were pulled up face first, so we had the big windshield wide open to the lake and the views. It was amazing. Couldn't have asked for a better site. Very
pretty. We blew up the paddleboard, and I went kayaking on it.
Yeah, basically.
And it's so cool out here because there's so little traffic along the road that like I've never experienced. Can you hear Bonnie snoring? I've never experienced quiet like this.
Yeah. It's
like you feel it in your ears how quiet it is.
You can hear your ears ringing. Yeah. Unless Bonnie's snoring.
Precious. So that was really cool, and Colton, I think you thoroughly enjoyed working because he works in like the passenger seat area of the front.
Yeah, we usually have it like down so that you can't even see out the windshield, but oh man.
It was all lake.
Beautiful views.
So you can stay there for 1 or 2 nights, and we decided this is awesome, let's stay for 2 nights. Yeah. So Colton tried fishing for a little bit, and I caught
a little lake trout.
Yeah. He wanted to stay more, and I was like, Muncha Lake is what I've heard of as being like the stop, so I want to push on to that. And it was only like an hour away, so we were like, okay, the next day, let's go.
Yeah. This was the first test where we had specific generator hours that we had to go by, which like I don't think it would have been the end of the world if like we were a little bit outside of it. But yeah, we tried to stay pretty strict. We set alarms on our phones and turn the generator on the mornings I worked from it, and then charge up our electric generator. I did the same in the night. Tried to keep the fridge running all day, but really was successful in trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I do understand the fact that these campgrounds have specific generator hours, because that makes a lot of noise.
Yeah, who wants to eat dinner or like, breakfast outside listening to a generator?
Yeah, and we've stayed at a couple different provincial, so that's like dispersed.
It's like the state parks.
Yeah, like no
US.
hookup campgrounds.
Yeah.
That have these specific generator hours, and it's 9 to 11 a.m. and then 6 to 8 p.m. So, 2-hour little increments, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. So when I paddled out to the lake, I was like having a moment by myself. I was looking for like wildlife the entire time. Didn't see any, but I was just so struck by how quiet it was. And I decided like, oh, I should come back. Not that I had service, but I don't have my phone. I don't have my walkie-talkie. So I paddled back, and like everyone, the dogs and Colton were sitting outside waiting for me. And Stella, who normally is petrified of water, will not actively choose to go in water, just like hops on to the paddleboard. And it's just like, I expected her, normally when we get around water or we're walking along the ocean or whatever, she is constantly barking. Like
barking at it, biting at it.
Barking at us if we get close to the water.
Yeah.
Like, she's just different. And she gets on the paddleboard with me, and I stay along the shoreline, but she's just so quiet. And she's loving it. And it was so special.
And she's wagging her tail.
When I got off to start dinner, we left the paddleboard just at the shoreline, and she was like standing on it by herself. It was the cutest thing.
Yeah, I think she just liked how calm it was, maybe, or like, I don't know. It was interesting.
She's
like
so
maybe that
cute.
healed a little bit for her.
Yeah, we talk about our dog like they have some kind of like brain that can like heal trauma and like.
Oh, you don't believe that?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Cut this out. Okay, so we left Summit Lake and decided to go to Muncho.
Yeah, would 100% recommend at least pull into Summit Lake, even if you're planning on just a pull out, because that's what we were doing too. But like, the sights are so beautiful.
There is a nice hike there too that like goes along the lake shore.
Saw black bear right before pulling in there.
Yeah, it seems like every time before we decide like, oh, this is where we're gonna stay for the night, like 5 minutes before we get there, there's a black bear off the side of the road. I truly had no idea. Oh, you should get our bingo cards. How many black bear? That would not be the mascot animal that I would associate us seeing as much as we have.
Yeah.
I expected it to be like...
I figured we'd see some.
Deer. And we've seen some deer, but like we've seen, I think, 9 or 10 black bear now.
Yeah.
So we made these bingo cards. They all have the same animals on them, and 2 of each kind. But we just put them in different places, and we were like, oh, whoever gets bingo first can buy a souvenir of their choosing without the other person having any say in it, or like, I don't know, any say in it. And at this point, Colton has one, which I find irritating. I needed a moose.
Easily.
And he needed a buffalo.
And we saw like
and
2 herds of buffalo.
The buffalo were right off the side of the road. But it didn't happen here. It happened on our way to Liard, which
you had chances to see moose, but no.
It just didn't happen. So that's okay. I lost. I'll accept the L.
I'll take it. I already know what I want.
But when we left, I would say when we left Summit to get to Muncho was kind of like when the wildlife shifted and we were seeing a lot more. Because that's when we saw we saw 2 caribou right away.
Yeah.
And then we saw 2 female bighorn sheep with a baby sheep. And I've never seen a little baby bighorn. It looked like a little lamb. It was white and just so cute. Precious. And
they just climbed right up the side of the hill there beside the lake.
Yeah, it was so cute. But we stopped to get gas along the way. It's this place called Rocky Mountain Lodge, and you can stay there too if you wanted. But these pumps, and I had seen this in some of the research for the route, they're very old school gas pumps. Yep. And
old mountain pumps.
I expected it to be difficult to figure out, but even before we were fully parked, this owner, I'd assume was the owner of the place, was like coming out to us, and
which was nice.
He started the pump for us and was talking to Colton about it, and I took some footage of it because it is an old pump, and instead of like the digital screen, it has one of those like flipper numbers to show how much is coming in.
Yeah, so he has to reset it each time.
He was
go in, write it down, and he had a credit card reader, honestly, and it was a tap reader even.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Just part of the essence of the Alcan, I guess. But that was cool. He gave us a free postcard. And then once you kind of get past that point, the Toad River shows up, and you're like driving along the river throughout the rest of the route to Muncho. And that's really turquoise, and the mountains start shifting from like tree covered to more rocky.
Yeah.
And that was really pretty. So then we were like not really sure. We haven't had any reservations for the places that we do stay if it's more than like a random pull off. Like even the provincials, you can have reservations for that.
Well, the only place that we really reserved was Banff.
Oh, yeah.
And then everything else, we were looking at pull offs, or I was like, okay, I'll just like call around.
Yeah, so, if we wanted to stay, I think both of us have preferred to stay at a place like this where it's like, this isn't an official campground or anything. It's just a pull off, and we're like right along the water.
Yeah, better views.
Free. Quiet. Yeah, free. Always choose free. But I kind of assumed that Muncho would be more commercialized. Not commercialized, because that's a stretch on this highway in general. But there was a provincial campground. It's called Strawberry. It's the first one that we passed once we got to Muncho.
Yeah, Strawberry Flats, I think.
We drove through that. And there was only like 8 to 10 sites, and they were
tight drive.
Yeah, they were all spoken for. So we were like, ugh, whatever, we'll keep going. And just down the road, there was a bigger campground. What was it called?
Northern Rockies Lodge. Yeah, and we just were like, okay, we'll pull in, see if they have anything available. Because even at that point, we had driven past a bunch of pull-offs that we could have stopped at. Other people were there.
Yeah, but they had a spot, so we just decided, we'll try for like a night, see what it looks like. The lodge is like a lot of bikers were coming through to get some food and stuff like that. There were a lot of like little cabins that you could rent too.
It was like a summer camp vibe.
Yeah, not a ton of RV spots, but we got one no problem.
Second we pulled into the site, we walked back up and we're like, yeah, we want a second.
We'd like to stay 2 nights here.
It was just so beautiful.
It was right over the lake too, not quite like Summit, but like a short walk there to a dock.
We had our own dock, 2 chairs out there, a fire pit.
Really
There's a fire
pretty.
van right now, but it had a fire pit. And then we saw seaplanes taking off and coming in.
Right in front of us. That was unexpected and super cool. I really want to ride one of those. But that was the night that we had the movie night atop the RV and watched Cocaine Bear.
That was fun.
That was really fun.
People were walking by and like they were like, "Oh, you got mosquitoes around you?" and stuff. We're like, "No,
this is a vibe."
We brought these 2 thermocells things with us. We found at Walmart. They've been great. They keep the mosquitoes away.
The top of the RV really is such a nice hang. Like I wish I hadn't have been afraid to climb up there for so long. It's not.
Well, we haven't really been boondocking though. It's good for boondocking. It would be weird in an RV park.
I would do it. I don't care.
Oh, well, this park was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Cocaine Bear, what is your opinion on that?
Oh. It was a lot more graphic than I expected.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
I was almost worried that you would be more afraid of bears after the movie. Yeah, it was funny at times. It was okay. I wouldn't say it was anything crazy. I'd give it
a solid 6.
Yeah, 6.5. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean...
What do you think?
I felt like it lasted a while. I don't know. Yeah, it was a lot more graphic than I expected. That took me off guard, especially the first mauling.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay. But I appreciated that the bear survived.
Oh, yeah, after killing all those people?
Yeah, I expected the end of the story to be like the bear's dead and...
Oh, some park ranger's gonna find him.
Yeah, but the fact that wasn't part of the storyline, and you're just made to believe that Cocaine Bear lives on.
Oh, okay.
I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked it. And then, like, it had little cubs that were into cocaine, too.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, it was a funny movie. We had heard about it, and it was just been, like, a meme for us for a while. So it was funny to, like,
we talked about watching it forever, and it was so fun. And the second day, I took the paddleboard out and kind of kayaked around with it, and there was like nobody on the lake again, and it was super quiet and super calm.
So beautiful. I walked out at night. That was the night that I went out after it got dark. And
dark.
Yeah, it wasn't really dark, just like sunset, and I just wanted to see it. And yeah, it was beautiful. Snapped some pictures. And then I had to wake up and work another day working with a beautiful view.
Yeah,
so that was awesome.
Casual.
Starlink has been working amazing too. Shout out to that. Like, I wouldn't be able to do this without it because we don't have any cell signal. That park had Wi-Fi, but like I doubt that I could have worked from it.
Yeah, park Wi-Fi is never reliable from our experience to begin with. But I took the paddleboard out, and I don't remember why. I think I had just wanted to go over to get a better look of the float plane, and it was only like 50 feet away from where we were at. But like seeing it from the water, you were able to look at it and then see like the cabins in the background. And then it was like, whoa, there's a lot of like Rocky Mountains north of where we were at that we hadn't seen yet. So I was like, oh, I now have to see it in its full glory from the perspective that I can where I'm at. So challenge accepted. I'm paddling across the lake, the width of the lake, the length.
The width of the length. There you go.
Is that what I just said? The width of the lake, not the length. That would be very long. So I just like was going, doing my thing, got there. It was not, the journey itself, the paddle itself was not as climactic as I expected it to be. It maybe took me 25 minutes.
It was just like glass though, so
yeah, it was right? Vibe central.
It was a ways. I couldn't see you anymore.
And I had the walkie-talkie this time, and I was like, Colton, you got to do this. You got to see this perspective. This is so cool. The outlines and be like, whoa, that's a lot of trees.
Oh.
Yeah, and it almost makes the forest look more open, which makes it less scary to me.
Oh, okay.
Because you can see like in between the trees and like kind of sometimes what's coming ahead, or you know. And same with the tops of them. There are a lot of like differing heights. I don't know. I just think it's so cool.
Yeah. We also did that hike. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, it was fun.
We drove like 10 minutes back south on the lake to
Muncho Lake, yeah. Red Rock Canyon.
Red Rock Canyon Trail.
You know me. I'm obsessed with anything red or orange in nature. So I was like, Red Rock Canyon. This sounds like the Southwest. I'd like to see that. So we took the dogs and bear spray. Out. Yeah, I was scared.
Oh, I could tell. There was nobody at the trailhead either. There was a nice path though. Like you could tell other people were there.
Yeah, but
yeah, we were hiking across like along this creek and then through the woods at some point. But yeah, you could tell Olivia was concerned.
Yeah, I would love to see wildlife from the safety of, you know, our car or our camper or like a long distance away. And I was just scared. I don't want to.
Yeah, this was the most potential to see some
most backcountry wilderness hiking that we've ever, I think, done, really.
Yeah. We
haven't backpacked a ton, but a lot of our hiking is like national park type thing where people are there more often. Yeah. And there might not have been another person on that trail for multiple days, so I didn't know what we were walking into. And I take that as my job then to alert the wildlife that could potentially be around. So
with soothing songs and occasional.
My repertoire consists of Disney princess songs. I almost said Disney princess songs. Oh, spicy. What would those look like? Don't answer that. Okay. Disney princess songs. So like a lot of go-tos would be like Colors of the Wind, Just Around the Riverbend. So basically Pocahontas.
I think you have very Pocahontas vibes.
Yeah.
Weren't you?
I like Mulan though too when I need to like kind of whip myself into shape. Like stop being a baby about this trail. Yeah. The Sound of Music. The hills are alive, you know. But my typical go-to is like Schmidt New Girl stuff. You know that scene where he's like hanging out of the car trying to get crack cocaine for Winston, and he's like, "Ski," trying to get somebody's attention.
Okay.
Did you know that's what it was from?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah. That's what he does.
Oh.
Ski!
Yeah, so she was doing that repeatedly.
That's my sound now.
And Stella takes it as like a call to fall in line. She'll instantly stop and she'll come back and stand behind Olivia.
It's cute. She has to make eye contact and then she kind of comes up to me. But you know what I think it is? I think it's her PTSD from when I was screaming for you when we got separated in Utah.
Oh.
Because she kind of had that like little glimmer of fear in her eyes. And I was like, oh no, Stella, it's okay. So I felt bad. But at the same time, I wasn't about to stop ski-ewing.
Yeah. It was like... It's kind of. I didn't think we'd see a bear though, because it's a canyon. But you never know, because you can really see around curves, and we had to go through trees at some point.
It was very moosey though. Like I'm very afraid of moose too.
Yeah.
So you go into this canyon, and at the beginning it was kind of like a washout of where the river had been, and then eventually the river is back, and we're climbing over loose rocks, and like I had to climb on the side of the canyon to get over like a deeper area, and
crossing the lake or the creek a lot.
Stella is a champ. She's
got rock climbing in her blood.
Parkouring constantly. Like it blows my mind how coordinated she is in these circumstances. And Bond does okay. You know, she's not a rock dog, but
no,
she does.
She's
okay.
got her big web toes. And
yeah,
she struggles, but whatever. As soon as we get off the rocks and like back to the field, she's taking off.
She's got to be the leader of the group. She's the scout.
Yeah.
The trail kind of deviates off of the river, and we're going through the forest, and it gets kind of like thicker and denser, and I'm getting a little sketched.
Yeah.
Because the ground itself is like...
It's just all roots.
It's so moss. Yeah. Like, I've experienced mossy ground before, but not like that, where there was like multiple inches of give with every step.
Yeah.
That was weird. And that made me more scared. So I was ski-ewing.
It was just for part of it. We like detoured off, and then we're right back to it though. Right after that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Couldn't get lost too, because we just followed the creek in, followed the creek out, which was nice.
Yeah, the end of the trail had like a little cascading waterfall over the river. That was cute, you know. So we took some pictures there and then hiked out, and I started to get more and more comfortable the closer we got back to the more open area where the washout was, because you could see more. And so I was like, oh, there's no wildlife right here. We're safe. Yeah. So that's when I kind of shifted from the ski-u to the Disney princess. Yeah.
That's fair.
I even made like an ambulance noise at one point. Wow, wow.
I think you just liked hearing yourself talk at that point.
No, I do it for our safety.
Okay. Yeah. Successful hike though. We survived. We made it back. And I passed out. I slept for like 12 hours that day.
Yeah.
I needed it. I was tired.
So that's been our first half. It's probably like 3/4 of the Alcan. So next episode, we're going to talk about some other highlighted stops that we have done since. Whoops. So things like Liard Hot Springs.
Ooh,
that was a really fun stop. Fun. Watson Lake Sign Forest.
Ooh.
And we'll have to talk about our Serpentine Belt situation too.
Oh yeah, we had some interesting experiences, challenges along the way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're still going, so.
Yeah, hoping to make it into Alaska today, and we officially have our Katmai National Park bear
booked.
Bear sighting.
Brooks tour. Brooks
Falls.
We're gonna see some bears, catch some fish.
We're not gonna catch fish that time.
We're going to see some bears.
Yeah. He's a slut for the salmon run going on right now, so we're going to have to go fishing.
Yeah. It'll be fun. We'll see.
Today we're drinking tea, because this is midday recording.
Sun tea.
So this is some loose leaf blended in Banff. That was kind of a tongue twister. Tea that we found downtown Banff. This one is called Black Bear. It was one of their most popular...
Oh, I can see why.
Most popular flavors. And I looked it up to see what ingredients were in it. And it has, obviously, black tea, blackberry leaves, elderberries, whatever dried currants are, hibiscus, mallow flowers, sunflower petals, marigold petals, cornflower petals, and natural flavoring.
Wow.
Caffeine content is high.
Oh, I can feel it.
I can feel it too.
About to be on the road.
We're buzzing. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to
Hale Off The Trail.
Bye.
Bye.
Until next time, happy trails.
From the Hales.
Okay.
Hey everyone, we want to give a big thank you to anyone who's taken the time out of their day to listen to the end. This chapter of our lives has truly been so much fun, and if our talks help encourage you to get out there and chase your own outdoor dreams, it's been more than worth it. Do us a favor, rate, review, and subscribe to the pod, and until next time, happy trails from the Hales.